Hey, I'm Munira, a consultant by profession, but a storyteller at heart. This is Munira's Musings, a place to talk about real stories, the thoughts we carry, the questions we ask, and the moments that have shaped who we are. If you're looking for honest conversations, small sparks, insight, inspiration, and ideas, then you're in the right place. Let's talk, let's grow, let's begin. Greetings from Chicagoland. Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Munira's Musings. Our guest here is all the way from California. Hi, Sean. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Welcome to Munira's Musings, where stories become strategy and conversations turn into clarity. I am Munira Zahabi, and I help entrepreneurs, authors, and coaches give their business a voice. Not a generic one, but a voice that's clear, confident, and impossible to ignore. Each week, I sit down with leaders, builders, and visionaries who are doing the work, navigating challenges, refining their message, and stepping boldly into their expertise. And together, we unpack not what they do, but how they think and how they communicate and how they show up to the world. Because here, what you learn and how you articulate your story and your mission and your value, it's not just about the growth, it's building influence. So grab your notebook, lean in, and let's give your business a voice. Okay, Sean, tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, and the whole spiel.
Yeah, so I'm originally from Southern California, although I'm originally from Orange County. And I knew I was a writer at age 12 because I literally was visited by Destiny, and she told me, this is what you're supposed to do. And
how does Destiny visit you? In case she comes to my door, I need to know how to recognize.
So I was 12 years old, like I said, and this was in the 6th grade, and we had this music teacher who would come. It wasn't part of our everyday schedule, but he would come, I think, once a month or maybe once a week. And one day he decided to do something different. He was like, hey, I want you all to go home and write short stories. And he gave some instructions for how to do it. And so we all went off and wrote these stories. And for mine, it just kind of came to me in the flash. I wrote this story about Destiny, who's a sort of angelic figure coming to visit this very shy, awkward boy and telling him he'll go on to do great things. And what the real message came through for me when I took it into class. And the teacher was so moved by it personally that he stopped to read it aloud to everyone else. And he actually, which I think was a smart move, he didn't give my name. He just said one of the students in class, which is good because I probably would have wigged out at that point. Okay. These days I'll take all the credit. But what got me was not just that he felt the need to share it, but I could see the emotion on his face. And this is a guy in his, late 30s, maybe early 40s. And I'm a 12-year-old kid. And the fact that my words could stretch across time like that and have such an impact on someone so much older than me really was a huge signal. And then I've just been writing in different forms since then. I started with fiction. I still write a lot of fiction. I went to college for creative writing. And when I got out into the working world, I eventually found my way into marketing. And that has actually what led me into ghostwriting too, because one of the first jobs I ever had, and it was a full-time job. I was a full-time employee for 4.5 years. And the CEO there launched his book while I was there on the team. And it was so energizing to be part of the team while that was happening. In fact, I actually proofread the entire book in a single day because the publisher left a bunch of typos in there. So he just handed it to me, Sean, proofread this now. And I'm like, all right, done. But yeah, the book was really a fantastic opportunity. I got to do some other things behind the scenes as far as the promotion and marketing of it. And that was something that stuck in my mind as the kind of thing I always wanted to come back to. And
so that was true on-the-job experience, right? That would lead to you to this, what you're doing right now.
Yeah, exactly. And it's something that, it's funny because I actually spent a lot of my career as a copywriter and primarily focused on email, which my thought process there was that, quite frankly, the dollar to hour ratio was better, which it was for a time. But what I realized eventually was I'm wasting my best gifts if I don't hop into ghostwriting. And what woke me up to that was the fact that I had someone come through a mutual connection and say, hey, Sean, you're the guy to write my book. And I'm like, cool, I don't actually offer that service, but I'm happy to give you some notes. And so we got talking and we just bonded to each other, and I really believed in the project. And then finally I tried to refer him out to someone else, but he kept coming back, and I was like, all right, let's just try it as an experiment. And then here I am. Ghostwriting is the main thing.
Okay, so let me ask you this. That essay or that story that you wrote, the very first one, do you have it?
Oh, I must have it somewhere. I'd really have to go and dig for it, because it's probably 3 or 4 hard drives back at this point. But man, I should try to find it at some point.
I should frame it, right? Print it and frame it. Because that's what you started. And that's what one thing that entrepreneurs don't do is figure out where they got started, right? And even for me, it's like, when did I start becoming the niche navigator, right? And so that became a path. And then you go back and start looking. Now, I don't have any proof that I did that, because I did impact lives, but I can go back to those people and say, hey, do you remember these conversations? So one thing that you want to do as an entrepreneur is that you want to go listen and figure out what gave you that first start, right? Okay,
yeah.
So now you're a ghostwriter, you teach people storytelling, and you teach people how to write their own books.
Basically, yeah. So so ghostwriting is done for you, right? So in that case, I interview you kind of like this. I take those raw files and work my magic to turn that into a book. And also we work on an outline together in the beginning. There's a lot of planning that goes into it, which honestly is something I've noticed even other ghostwriters don't do in quite the same way, because my way of planning a book, it's very flexible, because I actually expect the book to change a lot over the course of the project. But I know what the fundamentals are that we have to nail down at word jump. And so I do, right? Because without those, we're just sitting here, pardon me. Without those, we're just setting ourselves up for trouble. So that's the ghostwriting piece. The other side of it is author coaching, where essentially everything I just described, I can walk someone through that, and then they can go and write the book, and then I just hang around to give them further accountability, to tackle roadblocks as they come up. And I know where the roadblocks are going to come up because I've done this a few times. So yeah, and really that's partially, it's a budget thing, right? Because obviously ghostwriting is going to be more expensive than the coaching. But also there are a lot of people who want to write their own book, but they don't know what they don't know, right? And they probably have a kind of felt sense. And so in fact, a lot of them, I can't tell you how many people I talk to who have been working on the same book for 7 years. And I'm like, that's a strategy problem. I think people assume that's like a willpower thing or a lack of discipline. And I look at that as you have some major unanswered questions about the book that you need answered first. So that's where I come in. We're going to answer those questions, then it's going to become way easier to move forward.
Okay, so this is awesome. Now, do you work with publishing companies to publish your book, or do you do it on Amazon?
I do both. So I have a couple different connections in publishing, everything from essentially they're all hybrid publishers. So the way hybrid publishing works is, if you think of everything you would need to do to self-publish a book successfully, and I'm not just talking, it's one thing just upload to Amazon and be like, done, publish, right? Yeah. But having a proper marketing campaign, making sure it's presentable and has a good cover design, making it formatted so it's smooth to read, all those things, you could learn to do it yourself. You could hire a bunch of freelancers to do it for you. You could maybe try to get AI to do it for you. Good luck. Or you can hire a team of people that have all done all those pieces together for a bunch of other books. And that's hybrid publishing, is that it's pay to play, right? You're paying up front for their services. But the way I look at it is that you're essentially buying the same services you would need to buy or do yourself anyway as a self-publisher. And a good hybrid publisher, ultimately, it's going to be way faster than trying to figure things out on your own. And it's not even, I would argue it's probably not even that much more expensive, because if you think of the cycles of trying and failing things and having to kiss a few frogs as far as finding your own freelancers, that can eat up a lot of your budget too. So even though it can look like more on the front end, I actually think that even budget-wise, it's way more efficient to go through a hybrid publisher on day one. And then finally, there's traditional publishing, which I do have some connections in traditional publishing, but I'm not the biggest fan of it because it's very slow, especially if you aren't already established as an author. If you're already established as an author or already have a huge platform to lean on, you can make it move a little bit faster. But if you're your average entrepreneur just wanting to write your first book to get more clients, assuming you even get a contract, which is a big if, tomorrow, the soonest your book actually comes out is in 3 years.
Whoa.
Yeah. And realistically, it could go as high as 6.
Okay, let me ask you this, okay? That all these points are wonderful. Now somebody has a book, right? They have a book, they want to do this. How much does a hybrid publishing cost? Just give me a ballpark figure. Because I know
ballpark.
It depends on the words and chapters and all that. So, but if it was a small workbook for, say, business and you had 12 chapters in it, how much would it cost? Just because I have so many other questions.
It's a pretty wide range. So that can go anywhere from what you're describing, that probably starts around $20K. And that includes everything. Now I'm assuming you're having a ghostwriter work on that too. If you want to completely write the thing yourself and have other people help with the publishing and design and all that, then it can be a bit cheaper. But the thing with hybrid publishing is that those packages can go as good as $100K and up. If you're going for the ultra deluxe premium, get you on the New York Times bestseller, that kind of thing. Although really that's more traditional publishing. Traditional publishing is still pretty much the only way to get on the New York Times bestseller list. But there are other bestseller lists outside of even Amazon that you can still get to through hybrid publishing.
Okay, so now here, you said before that there were people who were sitting on a book that they were writing that's a strategy problem because they haven't yet finished. Okay, I understand that. But what of those that haven't even written a book, even a word, but they have a book? I want to write a book. I want to write a book. And they want to write a book and they've been wanting to write a book. So what advice do you give those people who have not written a word?
I love those people. Those are my favorite ones because I can save you a lot of pain. In fact, I built a tool called the Book Clarity Engine that's designed exactly for this. It will guide you through the conversation of teasing out what that book should be. And it's also something we could sit down and do it face to face, but the bot lets you do it on your own time. But either way, that I know I have a book, but I know nothing about what it should look like. That's perfect because the same questions I use to sharpen someone's existing book idea or pressure test it, I can use those same questions to tease a book out of you if you really don't know what to do, right?
No, but I want to write. I have a book in me. I want to write it. I haven't just had, I haven't had the time. I don't know where to begin. I don't know. I don't know, right? So there's a lot of I don't knows, but I know what I want to do, but I want to write a book. But what do you tell those people? Because when they come to me, I tell them, start with the first word, right? And it's not as easy as it sounds, but I know because even I was sitting on my book for years before I started writing. So how do you motivate those people to pull the words or pull the ideas and put it into paper?
Because I don't motivate them. I help them find the book find the book idea that motivates them. It's not about me patting you on the back and saying, "Oh, you got this, keep going," right? Because in my mind, if that's what it takes to keep you writing your book, you're still not writing the right book.
So in your book, there's no spoonful of sugar.
Look, I can give you the spoonful of sugar if you want, but let's break down, because you're essentially talking about writer's block, right? So let's break down what writer's block really is. So writer's block is when you have uncertainty around what to write next, right? And so if your answer to that is, let me just sit down and start writing, that can work, right? If you can get yourself over the hump and eventually hope that your subconscious will take over. It's not that can't work. My view is that you're actually wasting valuable data though, because that resistance is trying to tell you something. The fact that you feel blocked, to me, says that like I've been saying, there are unanswered questions for yourself about what this book needs to be. And so that's why we take a step back and start outlining first. And even the outlining is the second step after what I call the 5 defining questions. And part of where this all comes from, I think this will be a really good example of why this matters, is very early on in my career, I took my first stab at writing a fiction novel. And I got to a full finished draft, and I knew it wasn't quite there. So I went and paid a bunch of money that I didn't have back then to this really fancy New York editor. And he gave me his assessment and basically tore it to shreds. He was like, hey, you basically would have to rewrite this book from scratch for it to be publishable. And I knew he was right. I didn't feel like, and actually he tried his best. He gave me a spoonful of sugar, right? He was as sweet and kind as he could be in delivering the news, but that didn't change the news. And I remember that was actually way more paralyzing, because now I'm sitting there with a full manuscript that I have no idea what to do with, because it felt so overwhelming to try to rework it versus just starting something new. So at that point, actually starting something new was easier. So I did. And then basically repeated the whole process again with a different editor and coming to the same conclusion. And that's when I took a step back and I was like, hang on a second. And I did start writing a third book, but it was like partway through the third book that I realized, wait, hang on. I don't have a writing problem. I don't have a discipline problem. I'm missing story structure. I actually don't understand story structure as well as I thought I did. And so that's when I went and hired a mentor who I worked with four different generations of Star Trek, really awesome guy named Art Holcomb. And that's what we drilled into. It was just the fundamentals of story structure, of character, of dialogue, all these things that make a story come to life. And making sure that one of the things that he really drilled me on, that is a core part of my philosophy to this day, is that it's not about the outputs, it's about the process. The way you become a truly effective writer is to constantly hone your process. The process is actually way more important than the outputs. And so that bringing you back to the question of writing your first book, if you just try to brute force your way through a blank page, then that's all, that you're just hoping the outputs will work themselves out. I'm saying that even if you've never written a book before, you can still establish that process right now and start asking the right questions ahead of time, so that once you start writing, the book comes flowing out of you. And I've seen it happen. I've watched this happen with my students who don't have writing experience, who aren't, people like me that were ordained at age 12, right? You'd be amazed at what comes flowing out of them once you get them asking the right questions. And so that to me, that's the whole magic. That's my obsession, is that I want to bring people to that point so that it doesn't feel like this big pile of guilt, right? I call it getting stuck in book limbo. People get, like I said, I've been writing this book for 7 years, and it's my dude, let's get you out of there, right? Let's get you actually writing.
Okay, so this is wonderful, right? So you're figuring out the questions and figuring out the process. And I know it's a lot of work. So how much time would an author want to dedicate per day or per hour to this process and say, you know what, I'm just going to do this for this particular time?
So I'm a little unusual in this sense, because for one thing, I'm always working on multiple books. So what I like to do is, for each book in my queue, I like to have at least one 3 to 4 hour block per week on that book. Now, that's me bouncing between multiple books, right? So it's not like that's all the writing I do every week. And the reason why I like that 3 to 4 hour block is that's deep work, right? That is time where I'm not doing anything. I'm not multitasking. I'll take meetings in that time. And in that block, for me, I can often get through at a minimum 1 chapter, often 3 chapters in a day. And for someone, so let's say we're talking to someone who's a busy coach, right? They've already got a full business they're running, and now they want to add a book on top of that. If you can block out that one big, carve out an afternoon of your week and try to do it my way, I think it's worth a shot, actually, because I am somewhat suspicious of the idea of daily actions, just because I live in reality, and reality changes a lot. I find it's way easier to protect 1 block a week at a time versus trying to establish a daily block. But that being said, back when I was a full-time employee, I would get up at 5 a.m. and basically have my breakfast and whatnot. And then I would write from 5:30 to 6:30 every day before going to the office to do marketing, right? So that's when I would write my fiction in the mornings. So if you could carve that 1 hour a day in the morning, that will also work.
Okay, so we hear about Dan Brown, we hear about the big authors, right? And then J.K. Rowling. So she was broke, she was in her hotel room and she started writing. And now we have Harry Potter, right? This is an amazing book, a series. But did she go through that process? How do you think she wrote that book? Do you ever question that, or have you heard about any of the things that I maybe don't know?
So this is part of the endless debate among fiction writers, which is, from what I've heard, she was what we call a pantser. So a pantser is someone who writes by the seat of their pants. That's why it's called pantsing. Whereas I actually used to be a pantser in the beginning. That was those first two books I talked about. I was pantsing my way through those for the most part. Then there's a plotter, which is someone who plots ahead of time, right? They plan things. And for the longest time among fiction writers, this was like the big debate, right? What's the optimal way to do it? What's the best way to do it? And the thing about pantsing is, if that is the only thing you want to do, if you know your main mission in life is to be a writer, and you are comfortable with dedicating hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours a day to it, and you're willing to be painfully bad for many of those hours until you get good, sure, go for it. Go be a pantser, right? And because here's the other thing too about pantsers is that, and this I'm certain of with J.K. Rowling, they are voracious readers. They hoover, actually, you know, another really good example of this, I think he might be a little bit more of a plotter, but there's a very successful and popular author right now named Brandon Sanderson. And he is, like I said, I think he's maybe more of a hybrid now of plotter and pantser, but that is a guy that has read nearly every fantasy book ever written. The guy just hoovers books. And so for him, even when he's pantsing, he's drawing upon this huge knowledge base of like all the other fantasy in the world, all the things that work and all the things that don't work, right? So that even if it looks like pantsing on the surface, there's still so much raw experience and knowledge that goes into that. Now, compare and contrast with the entrepreneur that already has a business to run. Hey, maybe also has a family to raise, right? Has all these other obligations. This is why I don't recommend people in that position pants their way through their work, because you have so many other obligations. The writing time you get is precious. We have to make it work for you. We have to make sure you're actually making progress there. And
so
that's
the dedicated time is dedication, right?
Yeah, it's not just that, yes, it's dedicated time, but it's also being extremely intentional and structured with that time, right?
Yeah.
Because again, if you're that busy entrepreneur, that busy coach, do you want to spend those 4 hours or that first hour of the morning wandering around and hoping you have something useful by the end? Or do you want to know, because of the process you've established, that you will always make progress every single time?
Of course. So thank you. These are good points, because I always wondered, like, how can you just sit at a hotel room if you're broke, and now you're writing a book? So that's just the questions I had, because if you were broke, you couldn't afford. I couldn't afford. If I was broke, and I've been there, I couldn't afford a hotel room. But that's my story, and I'm not going to this thing. But she's a billionaire now, who's counting. Okay, so these are great points, and I appreciate these. What is one thing that you want to leave my audience with?
You've been asking really good questions, actually. I want to leave something along these same lines. I want to leave off on the idea of passion, because that's something I hear people talk about a lot, especially when they're first getting into writing a book. Oh, I want to write something I'm passionate about. And I agree. I think that's a worthy goal. But I think we have to make sure we understand what that word means, because the way people use it today, they're essentially talking about what's fun and exciting and enjoyable, but that's not the original meaning of the word passion. The actual Latin root for passion translates to suffering. Passion is the thing you are willing to suffer for. And so in my mind, that's a far more useful signal because, and truly, that is how I look at my work, is that, now, does that mean my work is a painful slog? Not at all. I love my work. I have a ton of fun with it. But at the end of the day, if I'm going to bother writing a book, there has to be something at the core I'm willing to suffer for, so that when the process isn't fun, I keep going. And even beyond that, it's like there's something in this that's that's more important than me, something that is worth whatever I have to endure, because the world needs to hear it. Other people need this story. They need this message. That's the guiding light. Go find, and that's exactly what my process is I discovered. Let's find that thing that can't not be shared. When you tap into that, is so much more powerful than any amount of rah-rah motivation and you got this, right? It's no, I have to do this. This is my mission. That is my goal and my wish for all of you.
Okay, thank you so much. I have one more question that you almost not alluded, but you said good luck to it if you don't like that. Many people out there, many coaches out there are using AI and helping other people write books with AI. What are your thoughts on that?
So my thoughts on it are, I'm actually not an AI hater, but I am an AI realist, in the sense that, because I actually do use AI, but I used it for very particular parts of the process. And I'm always taking it with a grain of salt, right? And in fact, one of the biggest things I do that I don't see a lot of people talk about is I fight with my AI, right? I purposely butt heads with it because it's actually very similar to having a human collaborator, in the sense that the best ideas come from conflict. They come from the tension between what about this, what about that? And the way I see a lot of people using AI, which is really dangerous, is that they go in passively. Oh, okay, I guess that looks good, or that looks good enough. And the AI can do it really fast, so let's just go with that. And it's like, that is a absolute recipe for mediocrity, right? And if mediocrity is all you want, go for it. But I pursue excellence. And part of how I do that is that even pre-AI, I did the same thing to myself. And again, this goes all the way back to my mentor, who really drilled me on this. Is it just because you think an idea is good, doesn't mean it's good. You've got to pressure test it. You have to ask the right questions. You have to bang it against other ideas to see if something else is stronger. And so if you can bring that process into how you use AI, then it can be very useful. That's what I do, right? I playfully fight with it. And one of my favorite things to do is, if I'm really going back and forth on something, if there's a note I don't like, I will just keep ignoring it over and over again to see if it keeps bringing it back. And then a lot of times that's when I'm like, okay, maybe there's a point, right? But I'm not just going to give that up on the first pass, right? I want to be pressure tested, and I'm going to pressure test the system in return.
So do you think that coaches that are teaching this way of writing, it's a way of writing, so do you think that this is they pressure test?
Some of them do. I've seen some who actually, it's so funny, just the other day I shared this on my Facebook wall. There's a group of basically like AI coaches where one of them was talking about how to break up the bad writing habits in AI. And all of a sudden he's using all these words that I learned back in college, like really complex literary terms to describe like what the AI is doing and why it keeps falling into these patterns. And I was fascinated by that because it's, man, this is stuff I learned over a decade ago. And I was told point blank, that's way too nerdy, right? Nobody in marketing and business is going to care about that stuff. But now AI is forcing people to learn these things because the volume of words means that you see the same patterns over and over again, and everyone is getting burnt out on saying those same patterns. So we all have to learn how to create new and better patterns. It's a really interesting thing.
And I noticed that if everybody uses the same pattern, then the writing is so similar. So there's no ambiguity, if you will.
Yeah, and I always I'm a firm believer that we all find our voice. Right? We each there's just quirks of our personality, our unique experience, right? All these things filter down into our writing, and that becomes our thumbprint. And part of the danger with AI is that if you don't know, unless you like very carefully prompt it otherwise, and even then it's like, just yesterday I asked, hey, just as an experiment, write a post as me, because I just wanted to see what it would do. And it had a lot of my talking points, but it still didn't feel like me. It didn't have my thumbprint, right? And that's something where, look, if you want to use AI to write your social posts and your emails or whatever, like, sure. But if you're going to write a book, that thing better have your thumbprint. Because otherwise, what's the point? Right? What is the point of if it doesn't even sound like you? And so yeah, like I said, there are parts of the process where I use AI. I built a custom AI tool to help people get started, but I'm very realistic about what it can and can't do.
That's a good point. Okay, so now, Sean, where do people find you?
Easiest way is just connect with me on Facebook and LinkedIn. I think we're on Facebook right now, so right here. And then if you want to, I'm happy to link to that custom GPT under this video if you'd like to share that with your audience.
I would do that.
Awesome.
Send me the link on the chat and then I'll just share it on Facebook. Or you can share it on Facebook yourself on my profile. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, this is awesome, right? While he's sending us a link, I am going to say that's a wrap for today's episode of Munira's Musings. If something in this conversation resonated with you, don't let it stay as an inspiration. Turn it into an implementation and write it down. Refine your message, start speaking about what you want to do, and with clarity and conviction, right? If you are ready to continue learning how to give your business a voice, make sure you subscribe and tap the bell so you're notified each time a new episode drops. And remember, your story matters, your expertise matters, and your voice matters. Until next time, keep showing up, keep refining your message, and keep building a business that sounds like you. I'll see you in the next episode. Thank you, everybody. Thanks, Sean.
Thank you.